Here is Luffy with his shirt flying open in the wind like Calvin Klein model. If you like this, please remember to follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for more picture like this.
One Piece, Chapter 103, The Whale.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the excellent tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw the merry-go being swallowed by this giant monstrosity of a whale. Luffy wound up getting in through a different entrance, through a what appeared to be like a submarine hatch. And wound up inside the whale. And the chapter ended up with, the crew of the merry-go minus Luffy seeing this mysterious island, being approached and attacked by a sea king or Neptunian squid. The squid was taken out by a mysterious figure. We kind of end the chapter with them seeing this mysterious figure but not being introduced to him, and Luffy kind of walking around this, looks like a fabricated, constructed hallway inside of the whale going, what the hell is going on here? So that's where things ended off. That's where we will begin. And we wind up being introduced to this mysterious figure. We see him, and he's an older guy, kind of skinny looking. He reminds me almost of the character design of the Mayor Boodle. Just kind of a real thin, wafy fellow. And his hair looks real kind of funny. It sticks out and looks almost like a flower. Somebody even says, "Oh, look, it's a flower." It goes, "Oh no, that's a man." And Usopp goes, "It's a man," but. So they immediately start, the Straw Hat Pirates immediately get off on the wrong foot with him by threatening him and saying, what are you doing and what can you be doing? He basically handled the Sea King like it was nothing. I mean, he harpooned it and just kind of reeled it in, and then he goes and he sits on his little lawn chair that he's got laying out over there like nothing's going on. So they're obviously all kind of pressing him for answers, like, what the hell, where are we, what's this all about? Remember, it still looks like they're not even on the inside of a whale. It looks like there's blue skies around them. So he winds up, having a little interaction with them and basically telling them, hey, listen, it's rude to not even introduce yourself, because they're making all these idle threats and everything. So he tells them that, he says, my name is Crocus. I'm the keeper of the twin lighthouses, and I'm 71 years old, and, I'm a Gemini, and my blood type is AB, whatever, right? So, and basically, there's not a whole lot of information that is garnered from him at all, really. So we wind up having a couple pages of some back and forth, nonsense. They're trying to figure out where they are. He winds up telling them, because they say, we need to get out of here. We were swallowed and this and that. And he says, the door's over there. You can leave anytime you want. And they're like, the door? And they see this door, and it looks like it's just floating out in the middle of the sea, or that they're inside of this whale or wherever. And they're like, why the hell is there a door in the middle of nowhere, out there just floating in the middle of nowhere? And then Nami says, look closely, and it turns out he's actually painted the interior walls of the stomach, and Crocus says, oh yeah, that's a hobby of mine. So so things get a little bit stranger over here. He's painted the inside of the whale's stomach to look like the outside, and is sitting here on his little island, which we shortly thereafter find out, because there's some thudding and some bumping, and all of a sudden the waves are going and everything else, and they're like, whoa, what the hell is going on, right? We gotta get out of here. And he goes and he basically says that the whale is smashing its head against the red line. If you remember, that's the rock. It's basically like the red line is kind of like the Grand Line, but it runs in opposite fashion around the planet, and it's huge rock formation that comes up out of the earth. So he's ramming his head into the red line, and then Nami even goes, she says, yeah, I remember, noticing those scars on him, and they're in a sorrowful, mournful type of, cry, the whale, just the sound that was coming from it. So there's a little bit of going on about that. They then go and notice that as things are kind of swaying and moving, that the mysterious little island that Crocus was sitting on is not even an island, it's a metal ship. So then they go and they note that, hey, listen, if that's a metal ship, that means that we're inside the whale's stomach. That means that we're floating in stomach acid. Our ship is made out of wood. If we stay here too long, our ship is going to be eaten away by the stomach acid, right? So obviously they can't stay too long. Crocus then goes and dives into the stomach acid, into the water, and they say, what the hell, where's he going? He's swimming for the exit. Usopp thinks that he's actually going to kill the whale from the inside or something along those lines. We've briefly at this point seen Luffy, and he was kind of walking down some hallway, and as things were starting to get shooken up, he was moving around, and there's water swishing around. But then we wind up going back to and seeing these two mysterious figures that we're introduced to as Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine, and they're carrying these big gun-looking things like something you would see out of a like a steampunk inspired maybe a comic or something like that, or a video game, and they're walking around and they're trying to get to the stomach of the whale. So we wind up having and seeing them go in and work closer and get to the stomach of the whale. What they're actually at is they're up higher on this platform on the inside of that giant door that our crew, the Straw Hat Pirates, are on the other side of. And there's a smaller door that they're working to try to get through to get into the stomach from, obviously from the other way. They're working their way towards it, and, the Straw Hats are trying to get out. Luffy winds up, and then of course, like I said, everything's sort of shaking and moving over here, and the whale is going crazy, is banging its head against the red line, and of course that's causing a lot of commotion inside. So Luffy winds up going, and he winds up coming upon them, but it can't stop. I mean, he's just like flying down the hallway behind them, sliding, moving, or whatever, just because of all the motion. And he's like, "Oh, I can't stop, and they're like, "What the hell's going on? I can't stop." And all of a sudden, crash! He nails into them. All of a sudden, we see in a panel the giant door that is actually the one that looks like it's floating in the water over there in the stomach, and we see the smaller door that they have come flying through. The three of them. And they're like, "Oh, geez, and obviously I guess you can spend a little bit of time in the stomach acid. It doesn't dissolve you right away because they all kind of hit the water." And they're like, "Who are those other two that are with Luffy?" And Zoro says, "Never mind, we got to save Luffy." So while all this goes on, we wind up going and seeing where Crocus went off to, and he's in another part of the whale, and he's got this thing hooked up. It looks like a giant tranquilizer dart, a giant syringe that's hooked up to this thing, and he's like, "Oh, geez, calm down, Laboon, calm down." So we find out the whale's name is Laboon, and he goes and he says, "There's only a little bit of tranquilizer left. I'll have to mix up more, but this is what we're gonna have to do. I got to calm you down." So he, hits him with the trank dart, and then it goes back to the Straw Hats and the merry-go, and they're like, "Oh wow, great, everything is calmed down." So they wind up getting rescuing from the water. They wind up getting Luffy, and then of course Miss Wednesday and this Mr. Nine, these two mysterious figures, and getting them all on board. They start talking amongst themselves about how, they're pirates, but we should explain to them anyway. They'll understand. And, we come to find out they're basically here to try to kill this whale, for their village for food. So Crocus then comes back, and he's just like, "Oh, you'll never kill Laboon, and I'll protect him, and I'll protect him with my life." And then they go to pull their little, steampunk-looking rocket launcher guns out and go to fire a blast. And Crocus jumps in front of it and takes the hit, and all the Straw Hats are kind of like, "Whoa, this is he just took the hit for them, So Luffy comes up, doesn't care what's going on, in one fell swoop, he just slams them both down and knocks them out. We wind up finding out then, and Luffy's like, "Oh, I was tired of them anyway." We wind up finding out from Crocus that the whole story behind things, right? And basically what had happened is this whale, Laboon, when it was a very small, tiny whale, it was a whale of the East Blue, and it's the largest kind and everything else. It wound up following in this pirate crew that it was kind of tagging along with, following along behind. It was a baby, so maybe it thought that was like its mother, its mates, whatever. Wound up kind of coming down that canal out of the East Blue, down Reverse Mountain, and then of course is sort of stuck here now. And the pirates wound up staying, for several months, and repairing their ship and all these other sort of things. But when they were about to set off, they basically asked Crocus. They said, "Listen, we're going to go in and circumnavigate the Earth, or whatever you want to call it, the world." And circumnavigate basically means to go around the entirety of. So they're going to go around the Grand Line, come around the other side, and then wind up back where they started. And then we'll pick them up, in a couple of years, right? So Crocus agreed. That's fine, because they didn't want to take this whale with them. It's this growing whale. It's dangerous where they're going, that sort of thing. And Crocus had agreed. And he says, so the reason that he goes and he starts banging against the red line is because he's kind of like calling out. He's trying to get home. He's calling out for like his mates, his crewmates, because that's how he looked at them. They're like, whales are like pack animals, and he looked at, those pirates as like his crewmates, right? And Crocus goes, "Yeah, but that was 50 years ago. That's the deal." So clearly something happened to them. They're not making it back over here. It's been, half a century, but Laboon has grown to the size of a damn city, and we don't really know much beyond that. We can just assume that obviously, he decided to be the protector of the whale, that he, somehow wound up, finding a way to live inside of him maybe, and, finding a way with the tranquilizers and all that to calm him down. So, it's really kind of a cool story when you think about it. Like I said, I didn't really know what to expect, but I guess at this point, I can only assume that this is a real living, breathing whale, and that somehow or another he's just managed to build these things within it, and it somehow doesn't hurt it. So I guess we will find out in the next chapter, brothers and sisters. Remember to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I also forgot to mention, he basically, Crocus explains the same thing that I did, that these, two mysterious figures were from this nearby village, and they're more or less whalers. They're trying to kill the whale because it'll be food for their whole village for 2 or 3 years because it's so big. But he's not going to let them do that. So, but honestly, and here's the chapter question. I'm kind of indifferent for the most part. I really love dogs, for instance. Big dog person. But when it came to something like this, a larger animal like a whale, some kind of sea creature, a crocodile, what do you weigh in on? Do you really care? Do you care if if someone kills a whale to feed their village, for necessary food for 2 or 3 years, or do you believe in preserving life no matter what? So that's one to ponder and think about, and of course leave your comments down below. So feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you think that I deserve it, and then subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
As always, thanks for watching, brothers and sisters, and remember, join the Nerd Nation. It's the right thing to do. Trust me. Tell them Jim sent you.